it is my honor to join world leaders and renowned experts who renewed their call for peaceful reconciliations on the Korean Peninsula. We all do hope that Universal Peace Federation, new initiative Think Tank 2022, will contribute to building a global strategy for major breakthrough for peace and unification of Korea. Thanks to leadership and great efforts of Universal Peace Federation co-founder Dr. Hak-ja Han-moon, who dedicated all her life towards reunifying of her homeland and building a more peaceful world, the cause of Korea's peace and unification remains high on world political agenda. In particular, the attention and hopes that inter-Korean summits held in 2018 have aroused in the world provided a clear evidence of the importance of peace unification of Korea for world peace and stability. The world experts are still divided on way and means which can bring early unification. However, it is not possible to deny that sanctions, maximum pressure, and similar campaigns which had been employed so far for solving the nuclear problem and other security-related issues on the Korean Peninsula haven't brought any tangible results. Meanwhile, experience of dialogue with North Korea indicated rather clearly that way is the most plausible and realistic one for launching reconciliation and sustainable peace process on the peninsula. Exactly more active involvement of the DPRK in economic cooperation with other countries. This way may bring about positive changes in her international behavior. Lessons of Germany unification, downfall of socialism in East Europe, and regime change scenarios imposed by the West on the Balkans, in Iraq and Libya alarmed North Korean leaders. Unless the North Korean elite would be provided with the clear guarantees of their personal safety, adequate social status, and a certain level of well-being after unification, it would remain united and very reluctant to open this country and abandon nuclear weapon. Only lifting of economic sanctions and inviting in honest North Korea to participate in the realization of various bilateral and multilateral economic projects in Northeast Asia, including those proposed by Russia, can convince Pyongyang that the international community had taken on a road leading to DPRK gradual integration into international community. And instead of forcing on the country a regime change scenario. Economic cooperation will help to develop the DPRK economy, to make the North Koreans more prepared to live in a modern society. In other words, it will help to lessen the existing gap between two parts of the country and to cut unification costs. During the process, it will help to enlarge in North Korea strata of people interested in stable cooperative relations with the outside world. That's why Russia disagrees with those advocating postponing practical implementation of economic cooperation projects until the nuclear problem is resolved. Nowadays, when North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is trying to present to his people and to the world, if not a new policy, but certainly a new style of policy and more human-like image, it is getting ever more important to stop watching the North Korean ruling elite as an inseparable and hostile entity. There is a younger part of the ruling elite, growing both in numbers and influence, whose value orientation is close or similar to those in societies with liberal democracy and market economy. The most important thing is that for the first time in North Korean history, this part of the elite got the top leader who understands and can realize their wishes. Unfortunately, politics of sanctions damage influence and position of this strata within the country ruling elite. Contrary to the expectation of sanctions advocates, the politics of sanctions resulted not in the regime collapse, but vice versa, allowed it to become stronger militarily, maintain rigid political and social control. Few words about Russia's position on unification. Russia welcomes all moves by two Korean states aimed at relaxation of tension and promoting inter-Korean reconciliation. Firstly, because it will remove threat of military conflict right to her eastern borders. And secondly, promote more favorable environment for both development of Russia's bilateral economic ties with two Korean states, as well as for implementation of multilateral economic projects in Northeast Asia with Russia participation. Russia's first conviction is that there is no alternative to the inter-Korean dialogue and cooperation. Moscow never failed to confirm that Russia supports the policy of development dialogue between the two Korean states and bringing them closer together, and that Russia has always aspired to and today expresses its unequivocal support for dialogue and rapprochement of the two Korean states and maintaining a denuclearized Korean peninsula. Better relations between South and North Korea completely suits Russia's national interests because tension arising from time to time between Pyongyang and Seoul jeopardizes Russia's security and blocks realization of multilateral economic projects like oil and gas pipelines linking the Russian Trans-Siberian main lane with Trans-Korean railways. Russia believes that cooperation in tripartite format between Russia, South, and North Korea in energy and transportation sectors can be a very important part of expanding bilateral cooperation between Moscow and Seoul. This is consistent Russia's position since Mr. Putin's first presidential term. Improvement of relations between North Korea and South Korea, along with providing with more favorable conditions for development of trade and economic cooperation between Russia and both parts of Korea, undoubtedly would open new opportunities for economic development of Russian Far East. Besides being economically advantageous for all parties involved, such interaction is highly likely to contribute to the confidence building between North and South Korea. Russia believes that trilateral cooperation will not only be economically advantageous, but will also increase trust on the Korean peninsula. President Putin reconfirmed this stance in his interview with South Korean KBS company before his official to Republic of Korea in November 2013. We definitely support the aspiration of Koreans for national unification. It is a natural process. However, it should be exclusively peaceful and take into account the interests of the North as well as of the South, he said. If the partners' interests are respected, this process can be very fruitful, constructive, and bring great and positive results for the international politics, ensuring security in the region as well as for economics of the rapidly developing region. However, I'd like to repeat that we support the exclusively peaceful process. We'll support exclusively those means which would lead to a positive outcome instead of conflict, tragedies, and destructions. So both on security and economic reasons, Russia is vitally interested in peace, reconciliation, and unification of Korea. This conclusion seems especially important in view of continuing attempts by some experts to convince public opinion that none of the neighboring countries, including Russia, is interested in Korea unification. Such attempts are aimed at placating some countries' selfish policy and disguise their attempts to keep their military presence in the region indefinitely under any pretext and at any cost. Moscow is convinced that only removal of mutual concerns of all parties involved on the basis of broad compromise will make it possible to achieve the goals of the world community with regard of the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Russia's firm stand is to achieve this goal through political, diplomatic means only. Firstly, any war on Russia's borders, to say nothing of one with high possibility of using weapons of mass destruction, will be a direct threat to her security. Secondly, in case of armed conflict in Korea, Moscow could hardly expect implementation of multilateral economic project in Northeast Asia, which will help Russia to develop its Far Eastern region. Russia believes that dialogue with North Korea must be resumed, attempts to intimidate this country must be stopped, and the way to settle these matters peacefully must be found. A major difference between Russia and United States approaches to the problem are the ways and means to resolve the issue. Russia believes that, I quote, sanctions of any kind are useless and ineffective in this case, since, according to Mr. Putin, the North Koreans, I quote again, will eat grass, but they will not abandon this program unless they feel safe. Moscow strongly believes that diplomacy is the only way to solve North Korea's nuclear problem. The more so that North Korea official statements and contacts with the United States side confirm that Pyongyang priority remains finding a certain compromise with the United States as the only way to remove or lessen external threat, lift sanctions, albeit partially, and to get access to foreign investments and markets. So success of any future talks on the nuclear problem will depend mostly on what choice will be made by the United States. Whether it limits its demand to North Korea to non-proliferation agenda or continues to pursue simultaneously a hidden agenda to realize a regime change scenario. In the latter case, the DPRK is unlikely to give up its nuclear deterrent. In conclusion, I would like to mention that ongoing suspension of negotiation process on the nuclear problem provides South and North Korea with one more chance through their own united efforts to seize leadership in removing threat of another major conflict, promote peace and common prosperity for all Koreans. The start of 21st century proved that inter-Korean dialogue has all chances to become a major factor of promoting security and stability on the Korean Peninsula. The dialogue is vitally necessary to improve the current uneasy situation on the peninsula. By the way, I believe that the decision to hold the inter-Korean summits were prompted by realization both in Seoul and Pyongyang of the fact that prospects for achieving any tangible progress in inter-Korean relations nowadays by relying on external forces are becoming less and less reliable. Under these circumstances, both Koreas decided to find their own way for Korean settlement, using for the purpose the growing understanding that the most important national interest is to prevent new war and open an era of inter-Korean reconciliation and cooperation. Actually, inter-Korean summits were aimed at reducing the role of external forces in the Korean affairs and to make the big countries to a greater degree to take into consideration the interest of the Koreans as the single nation. The best option for the Koreans would be to resume working on implementation of the bilateral agreements reached between South and North Korea at the various talks and summits held during the several previous decades, including those agreed upon at the historical inter-Korean summits in 2018. It is high time for Koreans, both in the North and the South, to take their nation's destiny in their own hands. Russia hopes that the unified Korea will become her good neighbor and a major economic partner. Thank you.